Welcome, food and fitness lovers, to Tina's Ageless Kitchen. I'm Chef Tina Martini. You might know me as the Medicine Chef. Welcome, food and fitness lovers, to Tina's Ageless Kitchen. I'm Chef Tina Martini. You might know me as the Medicine Chef. Well, no pizza? Let's Stromboli. We're going to do something a little different. I know everybody loves flatbreads and pizza. It's got to be one of America's favorite foods. But the Stromboli really adds a little bit of a different touch to it, and I think everybody will enjoy it as much as pizza. Now, what we've got here is pizza dough that's already been prepared. You can buy good quality pizza dough from your favorite pizzeria. You can get ready-made pizza dough in the grocery store now. But my secret ingredient that makes my pizza dough a little bit different is dark beer. So instead of using water next time you're going to make your own dough, try a little dark beer in, and it helps feed that yeast, and you're going to get some really nice, really light, very crispy dough. But for now, we've got our dough already punched down. It's already rested. And remember, one of the most important things when you're using a yeast dough like this is to allow it to rest and relax, so that way you can move it out into the shape that you like without stretching it. If we stretch dough, it just bounces back, and that's no good. All right, let's get a pan heating up. We're going to do a vegetarian Stromboli today, but of course you could brown some sausage or whatever you like. I think any time that we can just do a vegetarian choice, though, it's a really nice choice for our health. So a little bit of olive oil in here, or whatever type of oil. You could even saute your vegetables in water if you wanted to watch your calorie intake. This is good quality fat protective health, and you see I've got my little Go Red for Women bracelet on today, and that's all about heart health, and we're talking about the lycopene. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and start sauteing some veg. So I've got some grated carrot, yellow crookneck squash, and zucchini. These are all things that grow in the ground. So remember, with the brighter colors, we've got the carotenoids, and because they grow near or in the ground, they're super high in minerals, and every disease known to man can be traced back to a mineral deficiency. So we're going to shred those a little bit finer so they cook really quickly. And then we've almost got the colors of the Italian flag in the bowl with the yellow bell pepper, red, and green. So let's go ahead and just add a few of those into the pan. Swirl that oil around, and we'll just get those cooking for our veggie stromboli. I'll just put this back here for now. Now these are going to take a little longer, gang, so let's go ahead and get those going first. Now use your high heat spatula or a wooden one. And if you're in an Italian kitchen, and I had the pleasure of spending some time in Italy, you'll see that they use the olive wood spoons and spatulas a lot. So if you have a good quality olive wood spoon, you can use that as well. Now we're just going to soften these. We don't want to turn them to mush because we are going to bake the stromboli in the oven as well. All right, so what else have we got? We can add a little bit of red pepper flakes in here and just release those essential oils. Now, if your family doesn't like spice, don't worry about it, but it's really more of an authentic feel and flavor if you do use the red pepper flakes. I've got a little bit of some Italian herbs here. And again, cooking the spices and herbs, chefs, bring out that aroma and bring out the flavor in those essential oils. All right, I've got some garlic. Let's go ahead and put that in now. Remember, you don't want to put color on the garlic because it can make your recipe bitter. So just sweating them a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn our fire down just a little bit and give that a stir around. Looking perfect. Now, just to save time, chefs, we're going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. You would normally cool your veg and work your pizza dough while you're letting your veg cook, but we're just going to kind of move everything along. I've got some sliced provolone cheese, and remember, cheese is really a great choice for a snack. Not only does it have calcium, and we tend to only think about that when we think of cheese, did you know that cheese actually has 15 different nutrients in it. So again, it's a really good choice. All right, I'm going to put these in, and remember, these are a little smaller than our bell peppers, so they'll go really quickly. You can use the residual heat already built up in the pan. Again, this is going in the oven, so we don't want to overwork the veg. All right, all the carotenoids here tell us that it's beta carotene, and that's what our body uses to create vitamin A. Now, that's good news in itself, the vitamin A showing to be one of the best ways to keep our skin youthful and to fight against cancer. Here's another tidbit, though. The analog, or the byproduct of vitamin A that's produced after we take the beta carotene foods in, abscisic acid, kills cancer cells on contact when we look at it in a petri dish in the laboratory under a microscope. So as we get those foods in, we're really getting the benefits of that abscisic acid. Most root vegetables and things that grow close to the ground are high in vitamin A, and so you'll be getting plenty of that abscisic acid. All right, so I've sauteed these. Now I'm going to go ahead and just turn the fire off because, again, we don't want to add color to our garlic. And you can see that our veg are softening. Wow, the aroma is amazing with the red pepper flakes. And I just used a blend that you can get ready-made in the store, but you certainly can do your own blend. All right, we've got a little spinach, and I'm not really going to saute that too much because we don't want to wilt it too much. So remember, it's going to release some water too, and we don't want that making our pizza dough soggy. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in, and we'll save the rest for a little salad on the side later. Just let the residual heat, again, I know you hear me say that word a lot, but you want to really use that heat that's already built up so we're not overworking or overcooking our leaves or our garlic. So I'm just going to let that sit. We can take it right off the heat source and just let that cool down for a moment, and we can get ready to roll our dough. I've got the oven preheating at 375, and remember, chefs, one of the keys to making a really flaky crust, whether it be a pie or a pizza or a stromboli, is to make it cold and bake it hot. So you want that dough relaxed yet cool, and you want the oven to be at a higher temperature. You can also use a pizza stone if you happen to have one. And we need a little bench flour to keep the dough from sticking. So I'm just going to sprinkle just a tiny bit. Again, don't overwork your dough. And don't put too much flour down because it will toughen the dough. So we just want to use just a light little bit, and that's called bench flour in the business. All right, so I had a little plastic on our dough just to keep it from getting little hard bits. You don't want to expose the dough to too much air. It can get hard and crispy on the outside, and you're going to pick that up on your palate. And we want everything to be light and airy and not hard and crusty. All right, I'm going to cut this, and you can use a butter knife, you can use your spatula or whatever you need. But I'd like to make some mini strombolis today, so let's just use this instead of our bench scraper, and that's fine. If you don't have one at home, just use your butter knife. All right, so the dough looks great. I'm just going to knead that in a little bit of flour. Let's move this to the back, and we'll save that in just a moment. We can use that for something else. Now, I thought it'd be fun to do mini strombolis. So let's just get this dough to relax a little bit. I'm going to cut this in half again, and then we can do a teeny tiny one. All right, that's perfect. Let's move that up here. Oh, I'm making a mess, and it's more fun in the kitchen when you do, isn't it, chefs? All right, let's get my weapon out. Here we go. The rolling pin. Now, this is quite a large one. I'm sure you don't have one quite this big at home, but don't worry about it, whatever you have. Now, I've even used a glass to roll dough out before, and of course, you want to be careful with that. So hopefully you've got a good rolling pin or something that you can use to roll it out. Now, just set the rolling pin in the center and move the dough out from the center. Make sure that you're not trying to roll the edges and get your shape that way. We really need to press it down. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way so we can have a nice workspace. And then we'll be ready to assemble our stromboli. If it starts to stick, just move it over in the flour. And then we'll just roll this right out. Now, there's all kinds of gluten-free choices with the pizza dough now. Okay, great. Now that our dough's all ready, and get it as close to a rectangle as you can. The dough sometimes doesn't want to cooperate, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't worry about it, chefs. All right, so let's go to our veg here. Now you can see that the spinach has wilted just a little bit because it's going to continue to cook in the oven. So this actually looks perfect. And oh boy, I wish you could smell the aroma. It's absolutely fabulous. So let's put down a little bit of our sauce. Now I've already got a pizza sauce that we made with some nice herbs and red pepper flakes. You use any one that you want, and you know that there's good pizza sauce already made on the market. And you don't want it too soupy goopy, so just a little bit right down the center, and we're going to leave a little bit of a border because that's how we're going to roll it. I'm going to trim a little bit of this excess dough off. That's a little bit. And let's just trim this out so we can get a nice roll on it. That looks good. We'll just put that to the side. Let's put a little bit of our veg in, and I'm going to go ahead and use my hands because those are the best tools, aren't they? Oh boy, does this look great. And again, you make whatever filling you like. If you like mushrooms, then mushrooms would be beautiful here as well. So that's perfect. Looking great. Let's do a little bit of cubed mozzarella. And again, our cheese just adds a nice creaminess. If you don't do cheese, then that's fine. You don't need to do cheese. All right, so I've got the cubed mozz, and then I've got a little bit of Parmesan. Okay, that's it. Do a little piece of provolone. And each cheese offers its own flavor, so it's all going to be delicious. There we are there. Let's go ahead and brush this with our egg wash that's already been whipped up. There we go. And we're just going to brush one side, chefs. Remember, don't do the other side. You want to use this as your glue. So I'm just going to go around like so, and then we can tuck in the ends. So bring the egg wash over just a little bit. Now the egg's really high in lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect us from sun damage, but you can see the bright yellow, which we've talked about with our veg, and that's beta carotene, right? So we know that we've got some great vitamin A. All right, I'm just going to tuck the ends in so we don't spill out all over the place. And then we're just going to roll this right across like a little burrito. And just use your fingers to tuck it in. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And there we are. Isn't that beautiful? A cute little stromboli. All right, let's move this over to our prepared sheet pan. Perfect. All right, and I'm going to use a knife just to score that just a little bit. So let me see if I can find a knife. Isn't that beautiful? It's really cute. And again, something a little different for the family. So we're just going to score the top dough just a little bit to let some air out. We don't want it puffing up too much. And this also adds to the beauty of the stromboli. So just cut right through a little bit with your knife. Sometimes the dough's a little bit resistant, again, like we said when we were rolling it, but it's all right. There we go. Okay, that's going to let the air out, and it's going to make sure everything crisps without being soggy. Let's get our olive oil again, and I'm going to brush that on. And it's fine if it's got a little egg wash in it. Don't worry about it. It's just going to add a beautiful color. All right. Now the olive oil, of course, the tomato sauce with the lycopene. Not only does all of this reduce sun damage by as much as 40%, but again, it's cardioprotective. Our lycopene really helps with all kinds of different problems with hormone balancing and that kind of thing. So not only is it tasty, but it does a lot of good for our wellness. Now I've got something here that's going to be a little bit surprising. It's sesame seeds, and these are raw sesame seeds, and they happen to be the white ones. Now this is what separates the stromboli from the pizza, and this is a traditional topping for our stromboli. Doesn't that look beautiful? All right, so the sesame seed, and that's what it is. It's a seed, and we know the heart protective qualities of the fatty acids in the nuts and seeds. Now, here's a little bit of good news with regard to the sesame seed, and we can add as many as you like on there. It sets it apart from the pizza. Research is showing that sesame seed oil targets the knee joints and really helps with our knee health. So if you're having some inflammation in your knees, you may want to add some sesame seeds to your salads. You can grind them up in a smoothie. You can also take a little bit of raw sesame oil onto your salad or dip your bread in it, and you're going to get those anti-inflammatory benefits. All right, we're ready to pop the stromboli in the oven. This is going to be a 2-bake kind of situation here. We're going to crisp it up and get it nice and golden brown, and we're going to toast the sesame seeds at the same time. Then we're going to pull it back out of the oven and add a little bit of our shredded Parmesan just to gild the lily and get that beautiful nutty aroma going. All right, I'll be right back in a moment, and we're going to make some tomato ravioli. All right, welcome back, everybody. And the kitchen is just smelling so fantastic. I think we should make a little side dish now that's going to be equally as aromatic. The stromboli is just about done. So now I'm going to show you kind of an interesting, different recipe that I developed for a restaurant that I opened for raw foodists. Now, raw foodism is a different way of eating. And what that means is that food is prepared in the dehydrator as opposed to the oven. So those of you that are raw foodists now currently practicing, you're going to love this next recipe. This is a tomato ravioli. All right, so we're going to make pesto first, and I've got my super powerful blender here, and all we're going to do is just put some fresh garlic in, and garlic, of course, really great medicine, and we know that. It really helps with the immune system in specific, and that is going to help build our ability to fight illness. All right, I've got a little bit of some lemon zest. Now, I know that's not your usual ingredient in pesto, but if you know me, you know how much I love cooking with lemons. So that's going to add a little brightness. I'm going to add a little bit of fresh lemon juice just to move that blender around and help the blades go round. And then our super powerful appetite suppressant, body fat burning pine nut, and it adds so much beautiful buttery flavor to our pesto. Now, people, again, we tend to forget that the herbs are where the original medicine came from. So basil really helps alleviate the symptoms of PMS. So if you have a little bit of trouble with your monthly, you may want to incorporate more fresh basil into your diet, and it really does help alleviate all of those symptoms. I'm just going to put a handful in there, and remember, we don't want to overwork this basil and turn it, really black. So let's go ahead and put that in. We've got all of our other fresh ingredients. I'm going to add a little bit of some salt, and that kind of helps grind everything up, and it's going to lift the flavors of our ingredients. A little bit of salt never hurt anyone. Use the sea salt. We happen to be using a good quality kosher salt here. All right, that's it. So let's go ahead and get our lid on our blender, and I'm going to start it going first, and then we're going to add the Parmesan cheese in just a moment. So let me just pop the lid on, and we'll get this going and get our olive oil drizzled in so we make that emulsification. And you know what that is, chefs. We've done it before, bringing two things together that wouldn't normally blend together. Now, I've brought a very special olive oil back with me from my last visit to Italy. I bought this in the Umbria region, which is the premier region for fresh olive oil. Now, the Umbria region is considered the premier region in Italy for fresh olive oil. This comes from my friend Francesco in Assisi. And Francesco presses his olives within 24 hours of picking. So you really can't get a more fresh and really bitey kind of olive flavor with his type of olive oil. Now, generally, chefs, olive oil has about 120 polyphenols, polyphenols being another family of phytonutrients. Now, normally the olive oil has about 120 polyphenols per 2-ounce serving, let's say. This olive oil has 520 polyphenols per serving. So you can see that that's a substantial difference when we press the olives right away after picking. So let's go ahead and get the lid off, and that way we can drizzle in. I'm going to turn the blender on low. Make sure you always start your food processor and your blender on low, and then we can kick the speed up just a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to drizzle the fresh olive oil in, and just a nice even stream is going to help to really emulsify things nicely. We're going to scrape that down real quick. Let's just turn this off for a moment. And it's not splashing around too much, so you don't have to worry too much about the middle. Let's just work that down. And oh boy, talk about some great aromas. That fresh basil is magic. Now I'm going to put a little bit of our shredded parm in. And of course, if you want to just leave this vegan, just leave the Parmesan out. But we're going to go ahead and take advantage of those 15 nutrients in cheese that we talked about earlier in the show. All right, let's put that back on. I'm just going to put this on for just a second while we get it started. Oh, that looks fabulous. Let's kick up the speed. We want it nice and creamy, and those pine nuts are going to add that beautiful texture. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and take this off, chefs, and we're ready to assemble. Now we've got some raw Roma tomatoes, and I love the Romas. They are so beautiful in flavor. Now we know that the vitamin C and the bioflavonoids, we know they've got the carotenoids, which give them the bright red flavor. So we want to get both raw and cooked tomatoes in. Now in the raw tomato, chefs, we've got 27% lycopene. All right, so I've got a bottom slice here. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of our ready-made pesto. Oh my goodness, look at this color. And I'm just going to pop a little bit on our tomato here. Now I want to add just a little bit of salt to lift up the sweetness. There's my salt of the tomato, and we can just go ahead and salt them right over here. Now remember, chefs, another handy hint is to salt veg before you use it, and that way it's going to slough off that excess water so it doesn't make your recipe wet and gummy. All right, now we're just going to build a little stack here. Where's my spoon? Oh, it's in the thing. Goodness sake, chef. All right, let's go ahead and pop this on. Okay, and we're just going to continue building our stack. So you want to kind of line your slices up the way you cut them, and that way it'll make a nice even stack. Now any pesto that you have left over can be put in your ice cube tray and popped in the freezer, and that way you can just pop out little cubes of frozen pesto and just throw it in the sauce or in the saucepan by itself, or just let it thaw and give it a little stir, and you've got ready-made pesto on the go whenever you need it. Anything that we can do in advance as chefs, we want to do. All right, so how's that looking so far? That's looking pretty good. I think I want to top it with one of the tops instead of another slice, and that way it'll look a little prettier and more like a whole tomato. All right, gorgeous. Let's just pop that spoon back in there, and I'm going to put the top on, and let's move that right there, and we'll take this off. All right, so our tomato ravioli is all finished, looking like the Italian flag. The Stromboli is filling the Ageless kitchen with a beautiful aroma. We'll be back in a minute to take it all to the plate. And we're back to the Ageless kitchen, and it's Stromboli today. We're tipping our hat to the raw foodists as well with our tomato ravioli. Now let's go ahead and cut into our Stromboli nice and toasty. Now remember, it's a two-bake process. We put our egg wash and our sesame seeds on, and then we baked it until it was just about done, brought it out, and topped it with some Parmesan cheese. So just go ahead and just push that knife right through. Oh my gosh, it's nice and juicy and moist inside. The dough is perfectly flaky. We'll set that right on the plate next to our tomato ravioli. Let's top it all off with some fresh parm. We've got a basil leaf for a little bit of beauty. I hope you enjoyed your trip around Italy with me as I enjoyed it with you. Well, that's it for our time in the Ageless kitchen. I sure appreciate you joining me. I'm Chef Tina. Here's to your health.